Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Show Me Show podcast for episode 87, the Romeo Dobbs episode, if you will.
There we go.
Today, we're going to recap some of the wild card into the divisional round and obviously preview the AFC and NFC championship games. We missed last week's show, a very busy week, hectic week, first week of school.
Yeah, a lot
Um,
going on.
Yeah, but we have time to get in a show this week, so we're gonna do so, and it probably won't be too terribly long. We always say that, but we'll do our fantasy corner and some other little tidbits throughout, but that's pretty much it. So, yeah, we're gonna start off with the preview this week of this week's games. Let's just start on the NFC side of things here.
Is that the first game?
Actually, I feel like
Championship
it isn't
Sunday. The first game locks in at 3 p.m. Eastern time, and it is the AFC.
There you go. Yeah, I thought they were going to have the Lions in prime time, if you will.
Yeah, I don't know. I probably would have preferred to see the Ravens and Chiefs in prime time, but okay. So AFC, Ravens and Chiefs. These are the two best quarterbacks in the league right now, I'd say, is on the AFC side at least. So we're going to get like a massive matchup. Two D coordinators that have just been scheming. You know, they have their ways of going all year, so it's going to be interesting to see how, they scheme these two quarterbacks. Both teams are coming in hot. The Ravens obviously have home field advantage in this one. And I think that there was a lot of Chiefs defensive players that got injured last week. Patrick Mahomes is inevitable, but there's a lot of injuries on the defensive side, and the defense has been carrying them all year. My prediction, I'm just going to keep it short. I'm taking the Ravens in this one. This is the 1 year I think where the Ravens break through and win it all. I don't know why. It's just sticking in my brain. Like Mahomes is going to be that guy that dominates the AFC for a long time, but that doesn't mean you win every year. That doesn't mean you go to the Super Bowl every year. And right now, the Ravens have the better team. That's not saying that they're going to win. I just think that they will. They're healthier right now, which is weird to say for the Ravens, but if they're healthier, I think they match up better. Lamar is, the Chiefs really don't have a lot of speed on the defense. At their linebacker position, at their D-line position, I think Lamar is just going to, when the injured secondary comes into play and the receivers are open, he's going to, light them up. But when they do lock him down, he's just going to use his legs. So I think it'll be close because, it's the Chiefs, but I think the Ravens eke this one out.
I've been torn on this one pretty much all week. Because it's just so hard to pick against Mahomes after really the last two games, but really after last week again. You're like, it almost looks like it's clicking all the way right now. Now I'm not entirely in tune, I guess. Who all is out for this game? Do you know by any chance for the Chiefs defense?
Let me get the names real quick. Chiefs injury.
But, obviously the Ravens, they literally have pounded everybody here down the stretch, including the only team they've lost to in the past 2 or 3, I think the past 2 months is the Steelers. And that was when they played their backups in just a rainy game. So it's hard to pick against the Ravens. But earlier in the week, I was picking against the Ravens. And I think I might just stick with it because I can't pull myself one way or the other really all that much. The only thing that is really making me lean towards the Ravens is how they just beat the shit out of the 49ers about a month and a half ago.
Yeah.
I know it's hard to beat a team twice, but say the 49ers win and the Ravens win. They literally blew them out. So I don't know, but I think I'm going to go with Chiefs.
Okay,
I
a
don't
little
have a
head-to-head
whole lot of
matchup there.
analysis for. I just am going to trust in Mahomes. I think Mahomes is, you know, for some reason, this game has a feeling of like the Ravens should win, and it's almost like, well, they have the experience now to win this game. A couple of years ago, you might be like, oh, they don't really have the wisdom and experience that you need to win this game in the AFC Championship game against the Chiefs and Mahomes. And this year, I think they do. And for some reason, I still find myself picking the Chiefs. Um, and I think it's going to just be. I don't think this one might not be very high scoring either for some
No,
reason.
yeah, that's a big take there, but I kind of get what you're saying. Like,
So
I think whoever scores 20 points in this game is going to win. To answer your question about the injuries, a couple DNPs on yesterday's report is Sky Moore, Isaiah Pacheco, Joe Thuney. Mike Edwards is in the concussion protocol, so he's not looking good to play, which is a big, obviously, because he's like their one remaining starting safety because Brian Cook just had a nasty injury a few weeks ago. L'Jarius Sneed is limited. Willie Gay is limited. Trent McDuffie is limited. So I guess we'll just see if those guys are healthy enough to play. I think they probably will be if they're limited on Wednesday's practice. So, but if they're not, then they got a lot of problems.
I think if those guys can go, they'll probably be fine in this game. And then this may sound homer, but I've really started to see it over the past couple of weeks. Nick Bolton is one of the smartest linebackers in the NFL. In fact, I think this game has actually these three teams probably have maybe the three smartest middle linebackers left in the NFL in the playoffs. Fred Warner, Roquan Smith, and then Nick Bolton. I mean, just three really great linebackers. But in this game specifically, I think Nick Bolton's going to be really key because, I mean, he's going to be in charge of leading the wall against keeping Lamar Jackson kind of in the pocket, even though this year in the pocket, Lamar has been insane. So that's not exactly something that you want to do either. You just want to you want to get him off balance, but you also don't at the same time because if he gets off balance, he might just take off and go. But you also don't want him just sit in the pocket because he'll dice him up.
Exactly.
So
He's a problem. He's a
he's
problem.
he's
That's
a
for
major
sure.
problem this year. So
Likely the MVP. So
yeah,
I don't know how often MVPs win Super Bowls. I actually don't think it's very often. Like I think when Mahomes did it last year, it was like rare. So I don't know. We could go back to back on that.
that's true. We could, but I'm gonna go Chiefs.
Yeah, I'm excited for this game. Nonetheless, this is
Good colors too. It's just like a solid little color matchup. Nothing too
oh yeah,
extreme, but good on the eyes, especially at
especially because
the 2 o'clock
the
window.
Ravens.
Yeah,
As long as the Ravens are in their purple, not the black, they got to be in the purple for this one. I'm sorry, it just they have to be purple. Um, yeah, that's it. I'm excited. It'll be on CBS. Jim Nance, Tony Romo on the call. A little preview for the Super Bowl. And I will say that the winner of this game, I'll be rooting for in the Super Bowl, regardless of who it is, and regardless of who represents the NFC. So, speaking of that, the NFC matchup, Lions, and the Niners, unfortunately, the cancer of the league, the 49ers. This is definitely, I don't know what the line is on this game, but I would imagine it's heavily favoring the 49ers in this one. It's in Santa Clara. I don't know what their injury report's looking like, but I don't think there's a whole lot on it, at least star player wise. I don't know. They had a rough week last week against the Packers. They struggled. They almost lost. Probably should have lost. But you never know. Green Bay made a lot of mistakes, but San Francisco, put it together in the end. And the Lions are, they've kind of been sus all year. They haven't really dominated anyone, even in the playoffs. They had two close wins against the Bucs and the Rams, who were two of the worst teams to get into the playoffs. And now they're going to go in on the road to San Francisco. I want the Lions to win this so bad. just because I think it'd be, they've never been to a Super Bowl. They were my preseason pick to get to the Super Bowl. So that would be pretty cool to hit that. But I, the Niners they're too good. I'm going chalk, and I'm going Ravens. I'm going Niners. Um, just like the Super Bowl, I think it was like 10, 11 years ago or something like that. That was the Joe Flacco Super Bowl. Yeah, that's I'm going Niners here. They're way more talented, and I don't know, the Lions have grit. They got grit, man. And Kyle Shanahan in the playoffs, he just forgets how to coach. He forgets how to manage a ball game. This could be a Kyle Shanahan game though. If you know what I'm saying. Like where he just like forgets at the end of the game. Like he goes Mike McCarthy. That people forget that Kyle Shanahan's a great coach, great offensive mind, but he has a lot of Mike McCarthy in him. Just minus the fatness. So we could see that. Just be on the lookout. If it's a close game at the end, I don't know.
Yeah, so a couple things. I know Debo is hurting right now, and I don't. But the thing is, the 49ers have so many weapons. I don't know. Just missing Debo. We've seen games this year where they've only missed Debo, kind of, and they're still fine. It's usually that combo of when they're missing like Trent Williams, Debo, and CMC. Do they like really struggle? Well, CMC is red hot. Trent Williams is fine. And Debo, I think he might still be on track to play, but he's just hurting.
He's a
I'll
dog
be
though.
honest. I'll be honest though. The thing that's really sticking out lately for the 49ers, besides maybe their rushing defense, has been kind of like the linebacker play has been pretty good, and the uh, the secondary hasn't been all that bad either, even considering the injuries. I think they could be better, but considering the injuries, they haven't been that bad. Now, on the other side of the ball, the Lions, my only big concern for the Lions is the secondary. The defense, kind of in general, but the secondary has been bad. Pretty, from time to time they step up, but other times, it's like the biggest wow, that
They're
unit is
bad.
not very good, which doesn't shock me all that much because Dre Bly, former North Carolina cornerbacks coach, is on that staff somewhere. So it doesn't shock me that unit is not very good. With that being said, and I know I just piped up the 49ers a little bit, I think I'm going to go with the Lions. So I'm going both
Oh,
road teams this week, which
that would be such a fun Super Bowl.
would be a really, really fun Super Bowl. Interesting tidbit, if the Chiefs and the Lions win, uh, I'm sure it's one of the first time, I'd imagine the first time ever, but there's a chance it's not, that it would be the first game of the season and the last game of the season. The
True.
Chiefs and Lions were the Thursday night game to start the year, and they would be the Super Bowl as well. I don't know. I just think you talked about the Lions' grit, but it's not just the Lions' grit. They have a damn good roster, and the offense is kind of humming. So that's what I really like. And that sometimes it seems like they play teams so close, like the Buccaneers and the Rams. I think they've been letting their foot off the gas a little bit once they get a lead, it seems like. And they don't I don't know, they don't like stomp their foot down on the other team's throat. Which is
Oh
kind
yeah.
of surprising with Dan Campbell. But
And with the running game that they have too, usually teams that have good running games and offensive lines can put a game away, but they can't. I
yeah.
don't know, but they do have playmakers. Amon Ra usually seems to make a play late in the game. But with the secondary that you mentioned, like guys like Cam Sutton, he just seems like he's on bad highlight reel tape, right? Like right now, seems like every good play that the other team has, it's like against Cam Sutton. He like can't make a tackle, he can't guard right now. So that's kind of tough for him. Kirby Joseph has had a rough playoffs too. Um, CJ Gardner Johnson has had a lot of penalties these playoffs. So yeah, you're right. The Cam Sutton he's a good player, but he's had a rough last few weeks.
Yeah. And one thing that's bad too if you're the Lions is Purdy. He kind of thrives against bad secondaries, obviously. Like that's when he has his really good games. So that is definitely a concern. But then again, I don't know. But the Packers kind of shored up their secondary a little bit last week. It felt like against the 49ers, and they haven't really been that great of a unit either. I don't know. There might be some playoff adjustments that you might not foresee with the Lions. You can't really predict that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'm gonna go with the Lions I'm gonna go with the Lions. I'm gonna go with the Chiefs, and it would not shock me if both those games go the other way. But
Yeah, but here we are. We're going head to head in both matchups. I like it. Um, but I don't know if you noticed, but I set myself up to be right no matter what in the NFC. I'm either right about the 49ers this week, or at the beginning of the season, I said the Lions. So it's a win-win for me. Setting that up perfectly.
yeah,
Uh,
I got hot with the picks last week. I continued
true.
a stretch. So we did our picks a couple of weeks ago, and started off rough. Although Luke got the Dolphins Chiefs pick, I said Browns, who got throttled, and then I had the Dolphins, who I wouldn't say they got throttled, but they got pushed around. Then I went Packers, Bills, Lions, Buccaneers, all those hit, and then last week I went chalk to start, Ravens, 49ers, well, they both won, and then I went Chiefs, Lions. So I'm on a little run here. I'm going to hopefully try to ride that, but I don't know. It would be a fun Super Bowl to have Detroit in there. I'm also fine, even as a Steelers fan, if the Ravens get there, because I just like Lamar so much. But
yeah, that'd be fun to see him win it all.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about ultimate doubters guy. Like he's had his fair share of doubters his entire career, even coming into this season. He's had his fair share of doubters, and just going in, winning an MVP, winning a Super Bowl. That would shut him up. I mean, you can't. What are you going to say after that? So
yeah, I think the only team that I would be, and you'd probably agree with this in this order, kind of. The only team I'd be really upset about winning the Super Bowl would be the 49ers.
yes,
I really
hate them.
I've never liked the 49ers my entire life. I know that you aren't a Lions fan either, because obviously they're division rival, but man, I just really don't want the 49ers to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So,
Here's how I am on the Lions with the division rival. Week 1, I was rooting for them. I wanted them to get that playoff win. Even though they're division rivals, they're kind of like the Cubs. They're the lovable losers. Like, you're fine with them winning a game. They haven't won a game since 1991 in the playoffs, and it was against the Rams. So, rooting for them. Last week, rooting for the Bucks. That didn't work. But this week, it's like it's either the Lions or the 49ers. So it has to be, you have to root for the Lions here. But if they get to the Super Bowl, I know it's still the Lions. They've never been there. They've never won one. But as a member of the NFC North, we can't let that happen. So we have to root against them. I think Vikings and Bears fans will agree with me that like they were rooting for them up to this point, but then now it's time to start rooting against them. We can't let them get too much success. Otherwise they'll start getting cocky. So
yeah, I agree, and that's kind of like where I'm at with the Ravens, but also at the same time, the AFC North is kind of just becoming like the SEC West, and you're kind of like, all right, well, if they bring home a Super Bowl, it kind of just makes the AFC North look good, which is kind of funny to have pride in an NFL division. Like I get having pride in like your college's conference, but having pride in an NFL division is weird. But I find myself doing that all the time, or I find myself rooting for the NFC Beast all the time. But even though I'm trying to think, who are the Steelers in comparison to the SEC West? I mean, I don't even know if they're Ole Miss, in terms of the SEC West. They're probably. I mean, they're not Mississippi State, Arkansas.
Yeah, probably not. Probably not that bad. Maybe like an LSU. A lot of history.
Yeah.
Good every now and then, like really good every now and then, just
Yeah.
decent the rest of the
They
time.
might be Auburn, actually. I think they're Auburn because
Really?
they
Who's
won it
Alabama
about
then?
10, 11 years ago or 12 years ago, whatever, 13 years ago. That's when Cam Newton won his. Um, you know, their biggest rival is always really damn good, the Ravens. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, I don't
but
know. And
I
we
don't know.
always Auburn and Alabama, they always beat each other. Steelers also always beat the Ravens still all the time. Um, I don't know. That's
I
probably
guess that's true. Okay, that's a good comparison. Um, all right, you
mid
want
of
to
the
talk some
mud.
other playoff games from last week or wild card, or are you
Yeah,
fine
sure.
with? Okay,
Um, I mean,
there wasn't a lot in the
we
wild
can run
card.
through some of these really fast. I mean, Texans. That was a true wild card game. I mean, that came out of nowhere. I mean,
Yeah,
Flacco threw 2 pick sixes and it was over just like that. It was a close game. I thought it was going to be the most fun game. It was a really close game going into halftime, and the quarterback spirals, the quarterback throws that were going on in the first half were awesome. And then it just became very one-sided very fast. And it was cool to see Stroud and the Texans get their lone playoff win. But yeah,
yeah. I mean, great run for them. They got to be on cloud nine after a season like this.
yeah. And then the Dolphins at the Chiefs.
One of the
It was
worst
tough to
quarterback
watch.
performances.
It was
Yeah,
seriously tough to watch. I remember we were watching it and we couldn't believe our eyes watching Tua. And that's pretty much all I'll say. As a member of Tuanon, I really can't say anymore. He struggled, and the 4x4 team, it just didn't really pan out. I guess I didn't really take into account of how they are more of a finesse run game than in terms of a power run game, which is what usually succeeds in the playoffs. Because Mostert and A-Chain didn't really do jack. Waddle did next to nothing. I know he was kind of banged up going into that game, but he still did nothing. Tyreek Hill obviously caught the lone touchdown, that big play, um, but that was kind of the start of the Chiefs starting to click. So, yeah. Um, Packers game, that was awesome. The Packers
yeah.
just
That was
crushing the Cowboys. That was another wild card game, just like
came out of nowhere.
came
Yeah,
out of nowhere.
that was one of those games that you're going in thinking, oh, maybe we can win, and then you're entering halftime thinking, oh my god, if we lose this, it's bad. Like we have to win it now. That's how much expectations change that quickly. And I mean, man, that we were the youngest team ever to make the playoffs, the second youngest team in the history of the NFL. The only team that was younger went 0-16. They were the Browns a few years ago when Hugh Jackson was the coach. That was the youngest team in history. The second youngest team is these Packers. Not only did we make the playoffs, won a game, very successful season. Got to, the loss last week hurts, but I mean, winning that game against the Cowboys, that was just hilarious to see Dallas just collapse and, Dak throwing the picks, the fans in the crowd, the defense not being able to stop the offense. It was awesome. It was a great day for me. It really set up because that was the first game. And then right after that was Lions Rams. I was watching that game happy the whole time because of the result. So,
Yeah. Bills. Who the hell did the Bills play?
your team.
Oh yeah, Steelers. That game actually ended up being closer than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. A lot of garbage time points, though.
But that was an example of a game the Bills really couldn't kill the Steelers. Like they should have, but they just couldn't.
Yep.
Especially in the second half, they just could not really like put them away altogether.
Should have been a preview for the divisional round. You should have taken that game and been like, they can't really put teams away.
Yeah, you're right.
So,
So yeah. And then the Lions, they obviously played the Rams. That was probably the best game of the divisional round, obviously. It was awesome. It was great to see the Lions get their first win. There was tears all over the stadium. It was a great game. Matt Stafford's return in the playoffs. Good Jersey matchup, really close game. A lot of young players on the field, just like doing great stuff. Puka, Amon Ra, the quarterback play in that game on both sides was very, very good. So, yeah.
Yeah, it
Um,
was a great game. Great all around game there.
Buccaneers and Eagles, that game kind of sucked. The Buccaneers absolutely blew them out of the water. It was close for a little bit, and then the Jalen Hurts safety thing happened, and then it was just over. I mean, it was really over after that.
It was a disgusting game. The Eagles, like we said on the preview, that they were just a walking corpse, and that's what they came in as. I mean, when they got down, I think it was like a touchdown going into the fourth quarter or something like that. They're showing the players on the bench, and they're just like sitting there, just emotionless. They're not talking. They were drained. You could tell they had already lost. The body language was horrible. This was a season that just needed to end as quickly as possible for them, and they just need to reset in the offseason. That's about it. And the Bucs, hey, you get a win. Todd Bowles, not as sad as he once was.
Yeah, definitely not. Yeah, the Buccaneers actually had a good season. So, especially at the end, like they rattled off some wins at the end that were actually good wins. Like they beat some good teams too down during the last few weeks of the regular season. So, at home, but still. And then over to the divisional, the Ravens played. Well, the Ravens played. Oh, they played the Texans. Yeah, that was a blowout. It was close at the at halftime per usual, and the Ravens absolutely suffocated them. Texans didn't score an offensive touchdown.
Yeah.
They had a special teams touchdown, a punt return. But other than that, I mean, the Ravens whooped them.
That defense is so good. They have so many guys on the defense. It's insane.
Yeah, and the Texans are C.J. Stroud. He didn't even turn the ball over, but they still just couldn't. They couldn't do anything. So very stagnant offense all day long. And the Ravens and Lamar were able to capitalize multiple times. So I think they won that one like 34-10, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. And one thing about kind of going into the preview, that's what we should be looking at. We should be looking at this team, their secondary, their linebacker play is amazing. Probably the best maybe in the league right now. And that's what the Chiefs do best. They're not a big running the football team. Pacheco's good, don't get me wrong, but their strength is in the pass, and that is also the Ravens' strength. So,
yeah. And then 49ers played the Packers. Was a close game. Packers almost did it. But the Nazi.
yeah.
Sometimes you have enemy countries, foreign countries planting people into businesses and organizations to cause havoc and to retrieve information, and that's Anders Carlson. And the Nazi missed a key field goal down the stretch of that game that would have at least tied it. And then we got the quote from Matt LaFleur where he goes, when he goes out there to kick, talking about Anders Carlson, I just pray. That's really tough. So I already saw that they already signed a kicker for some competition going into the offseason.
I don't even want competition. I just get him off the team.
Yeah, everybody else would cut him.
Well, it wasn't just like he missed this kick, right? Tyler Bass missed a kick too in the Bills game, which we'll get to in a second. It happens. That's not the fact. If you have been watching the Packers the last 5 weeks, 6 weeks of the regular season and throughout the post, he has missed a key kick in almost every single moment. I think I talked about it earlier in the year with the Steelers game, with the bet that I lost that I still haven't owned up to when it was Packers-Steelers. He missed an extra point in that game that would have made it a 3-point game, which would have changed the entire trajectory of that game. Obviously, we get a field goal down there in the red zone instead of going for it on fourth down. Blah, blah. That happened multiple times. He would miss extra points. He would miss field goals just throughout every single week. He would miss something. And, so it's really not surprising that this is how the season ended, losing by 3 with a missed field goal. But, Jake Moody did miss a field goal going into halftime too. So it kind of evened out if you look at it that way. But yeah, the Arian, he's still on the team. I'm still waiting for the them to cut him. I don't know how they haven't yet.
Yeah, they might wait
They,
till camp, but they should
yeah,
cut him.
they did they did fire Joe Barry, so they did the right thing there. War is over, and now we're on the hunt for another mid defensive coordinator that we're all going to hate and fire in 3 years.
Yeah.
That's the cycle.
Although I'll say this, as bad as Joe Barry was, and he was awful this year, pretty damn good in the playoffs, actually.
Yeah, he was okay in the playoffs. But and even on the last drive, it's at the end of games where he comes in. You can just tell, like when it's a close game, when the Packers have like a 3-point lead or something, and his scheming is all he just lets them go down the field, and then he's just trying to play the bend don't break strategy instead of the dog strategy, and it cost us multiple games this year. He's playing with a you know. He's not letting his nuts hang, and that kind of bothered me.
And then this was the big one. Chiefs Bills. Great game. Another great installation of or installment of the Josh Allen Patrick Mahomes series. Some moments from this one actually. Jason Kels was at this game and shirtless, chugging beers out of bowling balls. And every time they showed Taylor Swift, it was funny. You could just see a shirtless fat guy drinking a beer right behind her. That was pretty cool. But over to the game, I don't know what – this is why I'm picking the Chiefs this week. I don't really know what else to say except the Chiefs
You're
did
welcome.
it. The Chiefs, we waited all regular season for the offense to click in some way. And I'm not saying that the Chiefs are some high-powered, high-flying offense right now because they're not. But this is a good enough playoff offense to advance throughout this tournament. So, and that's what happened. And then, there's a couple big plays in this game for the Bills. There was, a monumental drop by Stephon Diggs, which was by no means an easy catch. But for a guy that talks as much shit as he does, as much of a diva as he can be, for a guy that, gets frustrated with his quarterback a lot,
Kind of
when you
blew
got
it.
it in the breadbasket, you got to catch it. So,
Yeah, obviously. Yeah, it was a tough game. There was a lot of miscues on the Bills' part. A lot of, man, if we would have done that, we could have won, which sucks. Especially because this is how your season has ended like the last 3 years. Just losing to the Chiefs. I think last year was the Bengals, but
yeah, Bengals blew them out last year. I remember that.
yeah, it's just Bills fans are finding out that this team they're not going to be able to do it. They're not going to be able to win a Super Bowl. I don't know if Josh Allen will ever be able to win a Super Bowl, but definitely not this team that they have right now. They got to make some changes, whether it's on the coaching end, whether it's on the star player end. I don't know, but they gotta do something because running it back again next year is it's not going to work.
Yeah, I agree. The thing is it's pretty minute because when I was thinking about this, I was like, so what do they have to do to get over the hump? And the hump really is Ravens, Bengals, Chiefs, really. And I know the Bengals didn't make the playoffs this year, but let's be real. If Joe Burrow is playing and is healthy and isn't in that weird beginning of the season slump, the Bengals are our team to beat as well. Because we've seen this story unfold multiple years now. I think, it's easy to say coaching, and I don't think that's a wrong opinion at all. I think, honestly, I think one of the big moves that they could do is sign like Derrick Henry. I think that would be something very interesting because, they have a running back now. They really do. James Cook is a good NFL running back. He's got speed and finesse, and he can catch the ball out of the backfield very well, actually. And that's great. And that's still going to work in the playoffs. We saw it during the playoffs. It works. But the Bills, I think, could really benefit from a power running back deep into January, to go with that to take even more pressure off Josh Allen's shoulders. Because let's be real, Josh, this game's for once, it seemed, or maybe not for once. There's been a couple other times where it wasn't, but this game wasn't Josh Allen's fault, and obviously it's a team game, but really wasn't his fault. We obviously talked about the Stephon Diggs, right in the breadbasket drop there that could have really changed everything. And obviously Bass missed kick and everything like that. But the thing is, they had chances to win this game. The Bills did a couple different ones, and they couldn't do it. And the difference between them and the Chiefs is the Chiefs will pick one of those scenarios and they will capitalize. And they did. And, they just have that winning experience. And it's not that the Bills don't. They've won a lot of playoff games over the past few years, over the past 5 years, that is. But they just can't get over that hump that the Chiefs are able to do. And so I think maybe, if you're going to talk about bringing in player firepower, maybe Henry, finding a way to get out of that Von Miller contract and doing something else with that money. I don't know, maybe something in the trenches too. Maybe, like a Chris Jones. I think that could be huge. So.
Okay, I like that. Their linebacker core really kind of declined this year. They lost Tremaine Edmonds, and Matt Milano was hurt the whole year. So that hurt them, not being able to tackle and stuff like that. So maybe you go out and add a linebacker or something like that. Just make changes.
Yeah. And then over to the Lions game.
Fun game.
Really fun game, actually, to start the day.
Enjoyable
Buccaneers really kept it close at the end. So, they had to fight and tooth and nail to do it. I feel like there was a play in this game that I'm blanking on it now. I don't know if it was a drop by the Buccaneers at the end of the game, but
it was an interception. It was a bad Baker interception.
Yeah, that's it. That's what it was. It was just a bad throw. And then another crazy thing, there was, I saw some people finally talking about this once Monday came around. Todd Bowles, 36 seconds left. Didn't call a timeout. Just let the clock run out. And I know the chances are minute. They are. Don't get me wrong.
You still have to do it.
You have to do it. It's win or go home. You literally have to do it no matter what. You had one timeout left. It was fourth down. As soon as fourth down hit, there was 36 seconds left. You call timeout. You're going to get the ball back with about 26, 27 seconds left after the 10-second punt, really. You have to counter that. But you got 27 seconds. Who knows, Obviously.
Who knows?
Like I said, very minute, but you still have to do that. So that's one thing I didn't like about
you mentioned punt after 10 seconds for the punt. It would have been a field goal. They were in field goal range. They were on, it would have been like a 48-yarder, 45-yarder, something like that. Which Todd Bowles in the post-game interview said they were in field goal range already. 45 is not a gimme.
No, it's not.
No,
you're right.
He's probably going to make it.
I didn't mess that up. You're right, but
I think their kicker is Badgley, and they signed him like week 17 or something. He has not been their kicker all year. 45 is not. That's not a gimme by any means. You gotta chance it, because if he misses it, then you're almost at midfield right there. At the 35-yard line or whatever, with 25, 30 seconds. So you gotta. I understand the point of it but still, Jared Goff kneeled with like 15 seconds left on the play clock, which is also insane. Like, you got to drain that thing all the way out just in case he does call the timeout. So, very weird end of the game for sure.
Yeah. All right. So I guess that's the recap and the preview.
And I know that we'll do a whole episode on this like we do every year with the coach hirings and stuff, where we go in depth with it. But there were some big ones. A lot of jobs got filled. I think Ben Johnson is probably going to the Commanders.
Yep.
The Bucs offensive coordinator is going to the Panthers.
Yep.
Brian Callahan's going to the Titans. Jared Mayo to the Patriots, and Jim Harbaugh going to the Chargers. It's an interesting one.
That's the most fun one.
Yeah,
I think.
That seems like a perfect combination. He's like the exact opposite of Brandon Staley. So we'll see if he can just really energize that locker room, because they do have some guys over there. especially on the offensive side of the ball. Defense, they need some improvement, but I mean, they still have guys on defense. Derwin James he's a
Khalil
monster.
Mack had an unreal
Yeah,
season.
Joey Bosa, he's a beast. I mean, they got dudes over there. There's no reason why they can't be a playoff team next year with Jim Harbaugh now.
Yeah, I agree. All right, should we just do fantasy corner?
Yeah, unless you want to mention the say hello I have. It's just a say hello because the Cardinals signed Matt Carpenter.
Go for it, buddy.
Yeah, kind of a weird, I don't know about weird signing, but it was just kind of out of the blue, unexpected. It's like a $700,000 contract, as low as you can get as a veteran. He's coming back. I would assume this is his last year that he's going to retire after this. So this is now our third straight year that we have a very good Cardinals player doing a retirement tour almost with the Cardinals. I guess we're just addicted to it at this point. It's like that Victor Wembanyama quote. I'm addicted to it. It's what I love. Like Mosaic when it comes time to signing a guy in his last year.
I don't like that. See, for some reason, the past couple of years, I feel like they've been able to use these retirement tours to shield how shitty we've been. And I just don't like. I'll be honest. I do not like when players, and specifically one specific coach, over the past few years, when they come out and say that it's going to be their last year. Just do that privately. And I know, like, some people are like, oh, but what if you're a legend and then the fans don't know. I get that for somebody like Pujols and Molina.
Yeah. I think Pujols said, like, Yachty had been saying, like, for years he was going to retire after that season because that's when his contract ended. And Pujols, he said that he had to do it. Otherwise, he could, like, convince himself to come back for another year, but he knew this had to be it. So that's why he said it publicly. And, I mean, we were good that year. So... the Matt Carpenter one is weird.
Yeah, I agree. You just see coaches do it all the time, and like Nick
coaches
Saban.
is really weird to do.
Nick Saban, perfect way to go. He lost and it sucked, and he's gonna beat himself up over that for a while. But he just retired. Into the sunset. It's perfectly fine. And he's not gonna make a gigantic deal about it. But I don't know. It just gets old.
Who are you talking about? Who would make what coach would make it about themselves? Like just, especially at the college level. I mean, that's about the kids at the college level.
It is about the kids.
No one would
make
it about themselves
or anything. Yeah. It's about the kids.
Yeah,
but there was one guy who had an unpronounceable last name that just went by the initial Coach K. He did do something like that a few years back, if you remember.
And he must. Yeah, I do remember that. I was playing along with the bit there.
But he was a giant prick. We'll just say it. So
yeah. But yeah, Matt Carpenter, not a giant prick. I think he's coming back. He knows his role. I think him and the front office both said he's just going to be like a bench bat. He might not even play that much. He'll get some at-bats here and there. With the no-shift rule, he could be, beneficial because he benefited from the shift being banned. So we'll see. Some of these guys that have like a final season that come back to their home, they have really good years, like McCutchen last year, Pujols the year before. So maybe Carpenter could do the same, He's not going to be playing the field hardly at all. He's just going to be hitting. So we'll see what he can do.
Yeah, no problem with that for sure. All right. Fantasy corner. I'll just start off.
Of course, you're first.
Yeah. My stardom is the Big Nick community. And you might be wondering, what is the Big Nick community? I'm referring to Big Nicotine, Luke. There has been a war that may be being waged on nicotine once more. A few years ago, we saw a similar war waged on Juul and vape by the country that our government that protects us. Well, recently Chuck Schumer, who I think is he a senator from New York? I want to say. I want to say he's from New York.
That sounds right, but he's the leader of the Democratic Senate. He's like the head of it.
Yeah, he just wants to ban Zen pretty much. And there has been a huge uprise online about it, and it has been great for the meme community. I've seen
Yeah.
some great memes about it, but I've seen some really funny stuff. People really love Zen, especially younger people. And I saw one. There's been some couple of great tweets. One of them that said I'd make the
And make January
indirect
6th look like a playhouse or something like
yeah,
that.
I make it look like a tea party or something like that. There's a picture of the Boston Zen party, but that one didn't really make sense because why would they dump out the Zen bottles? But whatever. There's been some great memes about it, but the nicotine community they said they stole your freedom from you a few years ago. When they were trying to ban vape, and they did ban some of the flavors or whatever from kids or whatever. But now they're back,
Just
and they're
fine.
saying, "Don't let them do it again."
Yeah. Um,
Yeah, you're right.
it baffles me that this is the type of stuff that we're cracking down on, and not like the daylight savings that everyone agrees upon is stupid and we should get rid of. And they're like, how about we ban Zins instead? Like it just, this is our government. It's suffering right now. Crazy.
All right, and then my sit-em is Keyshawn Butte. Great wide receiver from LSU. He's in the 2024 draft. Had an all-time year at LSU. You know, a great year, kind of like a Jamar Chase, Jefferson type of year.
No, I don't know if it's that good. Was
the
it?
next, just one of the next great wide receivers from LSU. Him and Malik Neighbors. Well, it came out that he was busted with gambling illegal online gaming, referring to illegal online gambling. 8,900 placed bets, including bets placed on LSU, the team he played on. But the funny thing about this is the sit-em part is I don't know what's going to happen with this because and the reason why I'm sitting him is because even though this took place while he was in college, the NFL has a big, no policy on gambling. And I would imagine some of this stuff is somehow, some way going to carry up to the next level and follow him for a little bit, even though he's not even in the NFL technically. I don't know how that's going to work. We'll see when we get there. So sitting him for that. But the funny part about all this is 8,900 bets as a college kid is funny. I will say that.
And also, illegal online gambling. How do you get caught? Like, you have to just be so blatant with. I guess 8,900 is a lot of bets, and I don't know how much money he was placed, like what his unit was, but I mean, I would assume that's thousands and thousands of dollars in bets. But I mean, illegal online game that's not regulated. It's completely discreet. It's online. Like, how do you get caught doing that? You just have to be the biggest idiot. So I don't know. I haven't seen all the details, but I find it incredible that he got caught doing that.
Yeah, sit him for getting caught too. I mean, that's like you're saying. I mean, how do you get caught? I don't know. Online gambling and sports gambling is legal there, so you're right. I mean, it's discreet. I don't get it. Or I don't know. I mean, they caught Calvin Ridley as well. I mean, his was online too. And I don't know if it's just like an IP proxy thing or whatever that they link to players, but who's checking that? I just don't get it. I don't know how that works. I'd have to read into that case. So, my sleeper, Luke, is Doc Rivers. And the reason why Doc Rivers is my sleeper, Adrian Griffin, I think that was his first name, or maybe it's Griffith. I can't remember if it's Griffin or Griffith, his last name. But the Bucs head coach, this was his first year. They just fired Bud last year after last season.
Griffin.
Gotcha, Griffin. Coach G was fired, and they only have 13 losses. They're having a good year. I'll be honest, I have not been watching the NBA that much, so I don't know if he's just had some really bad coaching lull moments or any something like that. But they fired him midway through the year. Um,
Yeah, it was weird. I when I saw it, I was like, "Are the Bucks really that bad?" Because I thought like
yeah,
they were doing good, and I saw it. I was like, "Well, maybe they're just like really underperforming again." And I checked the standings; they were second in the East, tied
yeah,
for the second best record in the league. And I was just like confused. So I was just like waiting for something to come out like
yeah.
later
Me
that day.
too.
Like this guy had like a scandal going on or something like that. The players hated him. Nothing ever came out. It was just
Yeah,
a really weird thing.
yeah. I was doing the same song and dance as you, kind of like it because when Ime Adoku got fired, we were like, "What?"
Yeah.
We were waiting for the whatever to come out, and eventually it did, obviously, even though it wasn't really illegal. But um, and so we were waiting for the same thing for this Bucks thing, and who knows, maybe something will, but I don't think so. I think they just fired his ass. Now during, I think it was earlier this season, they brought on Doc Rivers to the staff to kind of be like a watchful eye and to like help out the coaching staff and whatever. And they pretty much just hired from within really fast and just hired Doc Rivers, which is kind of shocking. Like 1 minute, Doc Rivers is helping Coach Griffin, the next second he's taking his job and Griffin's out the door. So that's why he's my sleeper. He got they just slept on him now. Unfortunately, I mean, this pretty much eliminates the Bucks from winning the title. So that's also a
Oh
tough.
yeah, because Doc.
It's Doc. I don't really know what else to say. I mean, he hasn't succeeded with great teams since 2008. So,
Yeah, I don't know. It was a whole weird situation.
yeah,
I still don't get it. I don't understand it
I
at
don't get
all.
it either. And then the next night, I saw their first game back since he's been fired, and the team looked like they were having a blast. So I don't know if he was just a huge asshole and the team just hated him. I think that maybe part of it that the team hated him. So whatever. I don't know.
I don't know. That's kind of what happened with the Raiders when they fired Josh McDaniels, which that was another coach opening that we forgot to mention got filled. They
Pierce.
hired it. They
Yeah,
finally did the right thing. They hired in
they
their
did the right
interim
thing.
that was good. All right,
Good for them.
my stardom is the Wall. The Wall specifically in the new Clippers stadium that they're building right now. It came out a few days ago that I'm just going to look up the Wall. I'm going to get all this stuff, but basically, the Clippers are trying to differentiate themselves from the Lakers, and they're building their own arena, and they're having like this fan section, um, and it will be. Let's just see. This is from Channel 4. Any fans who break the Wall code will lose access to the section, according to the team's website. So this is just like one of the biggest super fan gatherings ever, and it's right behind the basket. Um, it's going to host the 2026 All-Star Game, actually. It's kind of interesting. So the Wall will be 51 uninterrupted rows of passionate Clippers fans and include a standing only section to house 300 of our most energetic fans who will cheer loudly, which is fake because the Clippers don't have that many fans that will cheer that loudly. The Wall, which will hold up to 4,500 fans in total, has a strict set of rules. Those seated there won't be permitted to cheer for or wear the gear of the opposing team. So you have to be a Clippers fan to sit there. I think that's cool that they're making a section that you have to be a Clippers fan. Um, any fans who break the Wall code will lose access. Only certified Clippers fans known as Chuck marked certified fans can purchase tickets to the Wall. And tickets in that section can be resold only to fellow certified Clippers fans on the team's Ticketmaster marketplace. Otherwise, you will be banned. If you sell your tickets that you buy to the opposing team's fans, you're banned. So this is like super strict, and I think it's cool because I think there are some sickos out there that just passionately love the Clippers, and this is for them. This is for them to go to root on the Clippers. I I think it's pretty cool. I don't know what differentiates it from other like behind the basket sections, other than it's like super strict. But I'm excited to see what it looks like in action.
Yeah. I'm
I'd say
looking
that.
at it right now, and so it kind of just reminds me of a college basketball arena environment. So they have the 300 people section right behind the basket. Kind of like a college student section because you stand in a college student section. So that's what that's going to look like, which that should be awesome. And then the rest of the 4,500 seats. So I guess the 44,700 seats or whatever. I mean, you can sit or stand or whatever, just like anywhere else in the arena. Got to wear Clippers gear. It says you can resell your tickets, like you just said, but it has to be people into the or they have to be Clippers fans or in the wall. And then if you transfer your tickets, so say you transfer them to somebody in your family, and they don't abide by the wall rules, you lose your wall certification as well. So, very strict. I think this is awesome. This might be one of the best things that I've seen in the NBA in a long time, actually.
Yeah,
And
it's
this is great. This is what the game needs because games do
yeah.
not get like this. Fans do not really get like this during the regular season, hardly ever. I mean, that's not entirely true. That's not entirely true, but it's, college basketball versus NBA. Let's talk about environments here for a second. College basketball environments, there's a reason why, college basketball fans, they're looked at in a different light because the atmospheres are so much more different. They're so much more rowdier and crazier and whatever. Well, it looks like at least for a quarter of the stadium here, they're going to have one area that's pretty much like going back to college. So that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, that's why I like college basketball so much. I think the environment, the fans are better, and this is going to bring it more closer to that. So it's awesome. Like I saw it and I was like, I have to put this on my stardom. And then my other stardom is also NBA related. It's frozen driveways. They became so powerful that they prevented a player from going to the game. DeAndre Ayton the other day was out because he was at his home. He could not get out of his home. Apparently the team sent a bunch of people over to his house to try and like melt the ice, and let him be able to like get to the stadium, and it just was unsuccessful. Like they couldn't get there. The ice was so slick. So he just had to miss the game because he couldn't get out of his house. Pretty crazy thing. Pretty funny. It was like one of those things that you had to double check to make sure it was real. And it was very real. Crazy. That's also DeAndre Ayton just getting his name back into the news somehow. I feel like he does that once or twice every year where it's just like, oh yeah, he exists.
Yeah, he had a great quote. I saw it yesterday. It probably didn't come out yesterday, but he goes, "This is crazy to me for a player to say this that's won nothing." But he goes, "I'm a max player. I have nothing left to prove in this league. Everything that can be proved, I've already proved it."
That just means he's chasing the bag, and he got his bag, and now he's satisfied. He's just
he's
just doing
with,
business now.
He's fine with being mid, as long as because he got the max. That's all that matters to him.
Get him on a team with James Harden and maybe a couple other players, and it'll be a great regular season team. And it comes to the postseason, they're like, let's just go home. Like, why are we here?
Yeah, I agree with that, and I'm not saying Aiton's not a hard-nosed player in the playoffs because I remember that Bucks Suns series. He played hard, but I think guys like James Harden plays his dick off in the playoffs. He just always chokes. I've never seen him. Like I don't know. Like he always tries in the playoffs. I feel like because he's like, fuck, I got to get a ring. Once he gets there, like he's been fat all season long. But I feel like James Harden is one of those guys that like he actually does want to try harder in the playoffs, and he does. He just always chokes. I don't know. That's
yeah, it's funny though. Um, my situm is my apartment place. So I'm going to fill you guys in for a second. I think I might have on like the last show or something, but I'm joining Cam at the great University of Missouri. Um, we're here. Officially, we're both here, right smack dab in the middle of the Show Me State, this is the Show Me show, so it makes sense. And I had a lot of troubles moving in. So school started last week. It would have been the day after Martin Luther King Day. Was the first day of class. I didn't move in to my apartment until Thursday evening. So I was just like homeless for 3 days. Now, luckily, Cam and the people he lives with let me stay there. But it sucked. There was a whole slew of problems that went wrong, from the place not answering phone calls to just some other random stuff. It was just like everything that could have extended the problem did. And then once I finally got my keys, they didn't work. So it was just a whole, I can't even explain it all in this show because no one really cares, but basically it goes down like this. Like, the official paperwork couldn't get started until Tuesday, the first day of school, because they weren't working on Martin Luther King Day, which, hey, I mean, respect the guy. I like him too. He did a lot of good things, but come on, like, it's the day before school. We got to get this in, we got to be
That's
working.
crazy.
Give the holiday pay or something, just, we got to have employees there answering phone calls. It wouldn't have taken that long. So that extended it. And then the paperwork, it took forever to get it done. And then there were some other things that went wrong. And so, yeah, the first 3 days of school, I just was homeless. I had my bag that I would carry in, and I had everything I needed in there. But yeah, by the third day, I was running out to my car to get stuff because I was just running out of items and clothes and stuff. So
Yeah.
pretty crazy that it sucked. But now that I'm settled in, I'm having a lot better week. But yeah, last week the weather was bad. School, the classes were boring. That whole situation, it wasn't a great week. I'll say that. I had my parents and my family calling me like, "Hey, how was your week? Was it great?" And I just had to be honest. I was like, not really. It kind of sucked. And this week's weather hasn't been any better, but everything else has. So I guess that's good.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely sit them, because that was, now that I'm in my apartment place, the room's great. It's got everything, but God, it sucked. It was awful.
Yeah. I can say a couple words on Luke's behalf, and because I was taken back by this. This was honestly astonishing. So when he told us that he wasn't going to be able to move up into his apartment on Martin Luther King Day, I was like, first off, that's crazy, because the inspection that they were planning to do or whatever on his room take 5 to 10 minutes at the most. I mean, they could easily just send somebody in to do that real quick just so he can move in before the first day of school. Because this is the crazy part to me still. Luke got pretty lucky, all right? He had a place to go, but I was just thinking, what if Luke was going to a different school and this happened?
Colorado State or something.
Yeah, Colorado State. Let's just say he's moving out to Fort Collins. Luke doesn't know. Let's say Luke doesn't know a goddamn soul there, and they're like, shit. Well, MLK Day, we can't really move you in. Sorry, buddy. Where the hell is he supposed to go? Just shack up in a hotel for a couple of days? Spend $400, $500, $600 for a couple of days? I mean, that part was insane to me. And it was no fault of his own. And one thing that's funny about Luke will cause his own problems on his own, and it can be funny, and you just laugh at him sometimes, and he has the ability to laugh at it too.
Yeah, for example, like yesterday, brand new pair of shoes, right? Just first time, brought them out of the box, wearing them for the first time, and it's muddy, and I'm like, I'm going to take the quick way through the mud instead of walking around on the concrete, and of course, I got my shoes all muddy. That's the type of stuff that Cam's talking about.
Exactly.
Just brainless
activities.
Yes.
But this was something I was like, I not only could I not believe it, but this literally had no fault of Luke's own, and you just felt really bad. We all felt so bad, but we also it was like a mixture of feeling so bad for Luke and just being like, "Holy, this is no fault of his own," and just also being absolutely astonished at how bad the service was that he was like getting at this new apartment place, and the new apartment place that he lives at. Nice place, and I've actually heard other good things. I know some other people that live there, and it was just crazy. It was wild, but it was just funny. Like, yeah, sometimes Luke causes his own problems, but this was no fault of his own. It was
Yeah,
insane.
yeah, it was great. Now, granted, there were some things that weren't their fault, but then they were really nitpicky with a lot of things, very official. Like it might have just been better just to be like, hey, like the guy that I moved into his room, just give me your key. We'll go about this like not the official way. I'll just pay you or whatever. It would have been a lot easier but I guess we could have sped up the process. But me and the guy that I was taking over for his lease, we were calling, I guess, the week before school started. We both called multiple times throughout the week and no one answered. Like, we're like, hey, what do we need to do to get this done quickly? That's what we just wanted to ask. And no one answered the phone. And it was just, I think I ended up asking him on like Saturday or something before we moved in. I was like, hey, like we were trying to call you like during the week. Cause like that's when they told me, hey, we're not going to be there on Monday to get this done. Like, like you're just not going to be able to move in until later in the week. And I'm like, well, we were trying to call you to get this done like earlier in the week. Like, sorry, the weather prevented people from coming in and working. I'm like, are you shit? Like, are we for real right now? Like, you're a place of business. You're not a candy house that's selling Barbie dolls and toys.
Mm-hmm.
This is a real business. It's an operation. This is a living, like people live here. Like it's a serious thing. It's actually one of the three essentials of human life is shelter. And this is that's the business that you're in. Like you got to have at least one person there to answer the phone. Like, come on, what are we
Yeah,
doing? Um,
yeah,
just the whole thing was crazy. Sit 'em.
yeah.
Wild.
Big sit 'em, all
Big,
time sit 'em.
yeah, really. It really was. This more of the sit 'em than the spider in Cam's room. Um,
Yeah, probably. Was
yeah,
that a sit 'em or a tough scene? I can't remember.
that might have been a tough scene. Actually, we got to bring back tough scene. I'm excited to bring it back.
That was crazy. Jesus.
And then my sleeper is wind turbine service technicians. Um, because it is officially the most, how do I say this, the most demanded job right now. Like the availability of it is off the charts. Like if you want to be a wind turbine service technician, you have a job. Like you don't even have to like have any schooling or require, just apply, you got it. They're the biggest job in need right now. So of course the current wind turbine service technicians that are already, servicing on them, they're getting paid extra because they're needed right now. So a little sleeper there.
Interesting
There.
sleeper.
Yeah.
Might have to look into that.
Yeah. Kind of interesting. I guess that's that's the show.
Yeah, there you go.
We'll preview for football. Yeah, we got 3 football games left, Cam, until August. I don't even know when college football starts. Probably late August.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. It's always tough because it's about this time. I remember doing the same thing last year, and it was hitting extra hard last year. But it's this time of the year you're like you start preparing for the darkness that is non-football season. Now, Luke, I feel like Luke doesn't struggle with it as much because baseball shows up right around the corner. Really, honestly, pitchers and catchers are going to be reporting before you know it.
Yeah, like
And
2
then,
days after the Super Bowl.
exactly, and that goes forever. It seems like, and I'll follow the NBA, and I get really into March Madness. But holy moly, like when basketball ends altogether between the NBA and college basketball, I mean, I am just a shell. I mean, there's a month where I am nothing. So, um, yeah, it's tough. I'll be honest. So,
But at least it's summertime and it's like warm outside and all that going on.
I guess. But sometimes you just want to go inside and chill and watch a game and talk shit, talk some ball. So.
Yeah, usually the Cardinals are there for that, but not last year.
Yeah, that made it even worse. I mean, there
Yeah.
was a full. Oh man, I mean, it was like a good month and a half, and I remember the midway point of that was I watched the All-Star game, and that was fun, and
Yeah,
then
that's
it
fun.
was just kind of back to normal after that, just nothing, awful. So
Yeah. All right. Well, an hour and 10 minutes in. That's not a bad show. I guess we'll see you guys next week. Hopefully, if everything goes well, and stay dry, stay warm, and enjoy some football.